Coming at you, the Connecticut real estate vocab to help you get through that portion of your real estate exam in the Constitution state of Connecticut. Without further ado, let's get into it. Chapter 392. Chapter 392 regulates real estate brokers and salespersons in Connecticut, covering licensing requirements, professional conduct, continuing education, agency relationships, and disciplinary actions. It ensures ethical practices, protects consumers, and governs the activities of real estate professionals under the oversight of the Connecticut Real Estate Commission. Connecticut Real Estate Commission. The Connecticut Real Estate Commission is the regulatory body under the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection, or DCP, that oversees the real estate industry within the state. Its primary responsibilities include licensing oversight, regulation and compliance, and disciplinary actions against licensees who violate real estate laws or ethical standards. Connecticut Real Estate Commission composition. The commission consists of 8 members, 3 licensed brokers, 2 licensed salespersons, and 3 public members. Members are appointed by the governor and must be electors of the state. Real estate salesperson. A real estate salesperson is a licensed professional who assists clients in buying, selling, or renting properties under the supervision of a licensed real estate broker. Salespersons cannot work independently and must be affiliated with a broker. Real estate broker. A real estate broker is a licensed professional who can operate independently, supervise salespersons, and manage a real estate office, and handle more complex real estate transactions. Brokers are responsible for ensuring compliance with legal and ethical standards of their agents. Salesperson licensing requirements. To become a Connecticut real estate salesperson, you must be at least 18 years old, complete a 60-hour pre-licensing course approved by the state, pass both the national and the state portions of the licensing exam, and affiliate with a Connecticut licensed real estate broker sponsorship. Broker licensing requirements. To become a real estate broker in Connecticut, you must be at least 18 years old, complete 120 hours of real estate education, have at least 2 years of active experience as a licensed real estate salesperson, pass both the national and the state portion of the broker's licensing exam, and submit proof of affiliation with the real estate office. Exemptions from licensure. Certain individuals are exempt from Connecticut real estate licensing requirements, including property owners managing their own properties, attorneys performing duties incidental to their practice, and court-appointed individuals like executors. Continuing education. Connecticut real estate licensees must complete 12 hours of continuing education every 2 years, including a 3-hour mandatory course on real estate and fair housing legislation, licensing laws, and regulations, plus 9 hours of elective courses. CE is waived for the first cycle after passing the Connecticut licensing exam, but is required for reciprocal license holders. Mediation. Connecticut encourages mediation as a first step in resolving disputes related to real estate transactions, such as commission disagreements or contract issues, before escalating to legal action. Transfer Act. Connecticut's Transfer Act requires disclosure of environmental conditions when certain properties and businesses are transferred, particularly those where hazardous waste was generated or processed. Notice. The legal principle under the state's recording system, Connecticut follows a notice recording statute, which means that the priority of property ownership or interests depend on whether the subsequent purchasers had knowledge of prior unrecorded interests in the property. If a deed is properly recorded in the land records, it provides constructive notice to the public, meaning that anyone conducting a title search is presumed to know about it. A purchaser has actual notice if they are directly aware of a prior unrecorded claim or interest in the property. Adverse possession. Adverse possession in Connecticut law allows individuals to claim ownership of a property through adverse possession if they have openly, continuously, and exclusively possessed it for 15 years. Partition actions. Co-owners of property can seek a partition action through the courts to divide the property or force its sale if they cannot agree on its use or disposition. Marital property rights. In divorce proceedings, Connecticut courts have the authority to assign property to either spouse, considering factors like the length of the marriage and each party's contributions. Real estate conveyance tax. Connecticut imposes a conveyance tax on property transfers, with rates varying by property type and sales price. This tax applies to most real estate transactions. Residential Property Condition Disclosure Report. Sellers must provide buyers with property condition disclosures called the Residential Property Condition Disclosure Report, detailing the property's condition and any known defects. Residential Foundation Condition Disclosure. In addition to the Property Condition Disclosure Report, certain sellers must complete a Residential Foundation Condition Report, especially in regions affected by crumbling foundations. Crumbling foundations. Certain homes in Connecticut, particularly in specific regions in the north by northeast of the state, are affected by crumbling foundations due to the presence of pyrrhotite in the concrete. Sellers must disclose known issues, and any visual inspections to identify the issue must be performed by a licensed engineer. Agency disclosure. Connecticut law requires real estate agents to provide clients with designated agency disclosure notice and consent agreements, clarifying the nature of their agency relationship. It is designed to ensure transparency and protect consumers during real estate transactions. Fiduciary duties. Real estate agents owe their clients fiduciary duties, including obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting, and reasonable care, or old car. In Connecticut, these duties are emphasized in agency relationships and must be clearly outlined in the agency disclosure notice. Fair housing laws. Connecticut prohibits discrimination in housing based on federal fair housing laws, race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, and national origin, and additional state-protected classes including ancestry, marital status, age, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, lawful source of income, such as refusing to accept Section 8 vouchers, veteran status, and status as a victim of domestic violence. Real estate advertising regulations. Connecticut requires all real estate advertisements to clearly display the name of the broker or brokerage and adhere to fair housing laws and truth in advertising standards. Advertisements must not be misleading or deceptive, including engaging in bait-and-switch tactics, which are prohibited. Lead-based paint disclosure. Federal law requires disclosure of potential lead-based paint hazards for homes built before 1978. In Connecticut, this requirement aligns with the state's focus on property condition disclosure, ensuring buyers are informed about health and safety risks. Dual agency. Dual agency occurs when one agent or brokerage represents both the buyer and the seller in a transaction. In Connecticut, dual agency is permitted but requires written consent from both parties as outlined in the agency disclosure notice. Transfer of title. A property transfer in Connecticut requires a valid deed, typically recorded in the local land records office to provide public notice and establish ownership. Connecticut Land Record. All property deeds and real estate transactions in Connecticut must be recorded in the local land records office of the town where the property is located. Recording provides public notice and secures ownership rights under the state's notice recording statute. Seller's affidavit. In Connecticut, sellers are required to provide a seller's affidavit at closing, which certifies that there are no unpaid taxes, liens, or other claims against the property that would interfere with the transfer of clear title. Common Interest Ownership Act. Connecticut's CIOA, Chapter 828, governs condominiums, co-ops, and other common interest communities, outlining rules for associations, unit ownership, and disclosure requirements for potential buyers. Connecticut Realtors, CTR. The Connecticut Realtors, CTR, is the state association for real estate professionals affiliated with the National Association of Realtors, or NAR. CTR advocates for policies that support real estate professionals and homeowners, providing continuing education in professional development, facilitating network opportunities, enforces the Realtor Code of Ethics, and offers market data and insight to help members succeed in their careers. Licensees are not required to be a member of CTR unless it is required by their individual brokerage firms. MLS, Multiple Listing Service. The MLS is a centralized database used by real estate professionals to share and access detailed property listings. It is designed to facilitate cooperation and compensation agreements between brokers, making it easy to market properties and find potential buyers. In Connecticut, Smart MLS is the primary MLS, providing a statewide platform where agents and brokers can list properties, access market data, and leverage tools to streamline transactions. Chapter 400. Chapter 400 outlines the licensing, conduct, and responsibilities of real estate appraisers in Connecticut. It details the qualification requirements for licensure, continuing education mandates, and standards for professional practice. Title insurance. Title insurance protects buyers and lenders against title defects or claims. In Connecticut, title searches and insurance are essential due to the state's notice recording statute ensuring clean property transfers. Security deposits. Landlords in Connecticut may require a security deposit of up to 2 months' rent, but for tenants aged 62 or older, the maximum deposit is limited to 1 month's rent. Landlords can charge a pet deposit, but it cannot exceed the overall limit, and they must return the security deposit plus interest within 30 days after the tenant vacates the property. Residential lease requirements. Connecticut law requires that leases exceeding 1 year must be in writing to be enforceable. Leases for shorter terms can be oral agreements but must comply with landlord-tenant laws. Flood zone disclosure. Sellers in Connecticut must disclose whether the property lies in a federally designated flood zone, which may require flood insurance. Affordable Housing Appeals Act 8-30G. Connecticut's 8-30G statute encourages affordable housing by allowing developers to appeal local zoning decisions if a town's affordable housing stock is below 10%. Utilities disclosure. Sellers in Connecticut must disclose the condition of utilities such as well water, septic systems, and heating sources as part of the Residential Property Condition Disclosure Report. Connecticut Real Estate Guaranty Fund. The Real Estate Guaranty Fund provides financial protection for consumers who suffer losses due to the misconduct of a licensed real estate agent or broker. Claims can be made against the fund for uncollected judgments. Sub-agency. A type of agency relationship in which real estate agents or brokers working under the listing broker represents the seller in a transaction. Sub-agency is limited in Connecticut and requires explicit agreement between the parties. Without consent, licensees cannot represent both the seller and a buyer in a transaction. Prescriptive easement. A legal right to use someone else's property established through continuous, open, and adverse use. In Connecticut, this period is 15 years. Connecticut Uniform Electronic Transactions Act, CUETA. CUETA allows for electronic signatures and records in real estate transactions, ensuring that electronic documents are legally enforceable under Connecticut law.
Hey, thanks for studying with us. Now, if these flashcards help you, imagine what our full arsenal of videos can do for you. Practice exams, targeted lessons, and state-specific questions. All of these designed to help you get that license. So subscribe, hit that like button, and join the thousands of successful agents who started right where you are. See you in the next video.